So, if there's one Apple Silicon Mac I'm looking forward to the most in 2021, it has to undoubtedly be the all-new iMac. I've been reading up on this redesigned iMac for an eternity now, with all kinds of sources claiming it's happening this year, and then we just get the same old iMac we've had for nearly a decade now. Yes, Apple has kept around those thick-ass bezels for nearly a decade. That's just insane. But of course, with this Apple Silicon transition, I assumed Apple would be releasing an all-new iMac at last, and of course, we have many reports claiming that it could be happening as soon as spring 2021, which gets me excited. Of course, on top of all of this exciting news that has got me tingling, we now have information about an iMac Pro happening in 2021 too, so we could have 3 all-new redesigned iMacs in less than a year. That is pretty spectacular news. I am very chuffed about that. So without further ado, let's just delve into all of this news. Make sure to like and subscribe, click that bell notification, and with that being said, let's just tuck in. So yes, I couldn't believe it myself. We now have information from a semi-reliable source, Nikkei Asian Review, who's leaked things in the past. They claim we could be getting a refresh to the 2017 iMac Pro. That's actually pretty surprising, because the iMac Pro has not been touched at all since its original release back in 2017, and a lot of people have assumed the iMac Pro was a stopgap before the launch of the Mac Pro. But for some weird reason, Apple has decided to keep around the iMac Pro, so let's delve into possible directions they could take that machine, along with information about the iMac. So first, let's delve into the price and possible sizes these new iMacs can come in. So Ming-Chi Kuo claimed back in the early days of 2020 that we could have seen a 24-inch iMac by the end of 2020, but of course we now know that didn't happen, and of course the almighty Ming-Chi Kuo was wrong for once, but I do think there is some truth to the story, and possibly the entry-level iMac will be 24 inches. And this makes complete sense, because if you think about it, this iMac adopting the iPad Pro-like design will mean thinner bezels, and so Apple can fit a bigger screen while keeping the body and the size of the machine relatively the same. And of course, while we have no rumors regarding this, I do think Apple will apply the same philosophy to the 27-inch iMac we have right now, so get rid of that thick-ass chin and of course those thick bezels, and give us a 30-inch or 32-inch screen. As for the iMac Pro, we pretty much have no rumors regarding anything about it, apart from, of course, Nikkei Asian Review saying it will happen in 2021. But do not worry, because I have something quite magical called common sense, and if the iMac Pro of today is based on the 27-inch iMac, it is fair to say the 2021 iMac Pro will be based on the bigger version of the iMac. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys, because I know it's a very tough concept to understand. Oh, and also if Apple's going to be keeping up with tradition, then you should expect the iMac Pro to be the only machine that comes in space grey, because apparently Pro consumers are only allowed to have darker colours. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, but anyways, let's gloss over that and delve into the price. So, of course, when we have a major redesign like this, it is expected we see a big price hike along with it. But Ming-Chi Kuo has hinted that because Apple Silicon is so cheap for Apple to make, I mean, of course, Apple's not outsourcing the chips anymore, they make it in-house, and of course, these chips have been in development for years, so the costs are super low on these chips, and because of that, they can offset the costs of mini LED and of course having a huge redesign. So to us consumers, they can keep the price roughly the same as the current models while giving us a new design, mini LED, new features, and of course astronomically better performance with Apple Silicon. And of course, Timothy will be very happy because he can sustain his high margins on Apple products, so he can make a ton of money, which of course is going to make Timothy very giddy. Now, in terms of features with these iMacs, apart from, of course, the Apple Silicon upgrade, there doesn't seem to be a lot of rumors regarding it again. So all of this is based on my personal predictions. Actually, my bad, there is something the rumors have mentioned to death by now, and that is, of course, Mini LED. I've spoken about Mini LED so many bloody times that I feel like a broken cassette tape at this point. But of course, I've got to bring the point home. And so once again, let's delve into what Mini LED is. So Mini LED is the combination of the best parts of OLED and LCD coming together and creating this very magical thing. So you're getting this display with great colors, great dynamic range, great blacks, great everything, and overall with the bigger screens, this is going to be a very, very great display for a lot of people who obviously consume content on their iMacs or maybe do professional work like video or photo editing. So yes, displays are 10 out of 10, very good stuff. Right, next feature is a personal prediction of mine, but I think it would be perfect to launch with these redesigned iMacs, and of course, that is Face ID. So, of course, Face ID on the iPhone indoors works amazingly well, but of course, when you go outside with your mask, it just refuses to work. So, of course, then it becomes a huge pain. And so, Face ID is suited for products that stay indoors. For example, the iPad, you largely keep that at home, so it works really well with Face ID. And so, the iMac, a desktop computer you rarely take outside, that is built for Face ID. And so to the engineers at Apple, I beg you, just slip some Face ID sensors into that top bezel, call it a day, it would be amazing. And if there's one thing I envy about Windows users, it has to be Windows Hello. So please, Apple, just give us Face ID on the Macs. That would be absolutely brilliant. Right, let's now delve into the juicy stuff because of course, now let's discuss Apple Silicon and what kind of power we can expect with these iMacs. We shall begin with the base 24-inch iMac, and of course in the past, the entry-level iMac has been based on the entry-level MacBook Pro, so I think Apple will keep that tradition, and so we should expect the 24-inch iMac to stay at the same price and come with an M1 chip and maybe 8GB of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. Now, let's delve into the beast that could be the 32-inch iMac. So again, if we look to the past, the higher-end version of the iMac has been loosely based on the higher-end versions of the MacBook Pro. So if we take that into account, we can then delve into a report from Bloomberg claiming that the next versions of the MacBook Pro and of course the higher-end iMacs could come with chips with 16 power cores and 4 efficiency cores. Remember, the M1 chip has 4 efficiency cores and 4 power cores, and of course that chip still single-handedly beats every other Intel Mac out there, so of course you can't even begin to imagine how much performance we're going to get with 4 times the power cores. This is going to be pretty insane, but of course we have the iMac Pro, and Apple might have something a little more powerful in store for that. So this iMac Pro could have identical performance to the upcoming 2022 Mac Pro with Apple Silicon. And of course, I have delved into this in the past. I've delved into the Mac Pro and of course this M2 chip. So if you want to know more, check out the video in the iCard above. But essentially, a recap for you guys, this M2 chip could have 32 performance cores. That's unheard of on a computer. That's pretty mad, and of course that's going to be supercomputer levels, and it's fair to say this machine will absolutely obliterate pretty much every computer on the market. And of course, the iMac Pro being this ultra pro machine, it will have some dedicated GPUs, and we're hearing that Apple's working on 64 and 128 dedicated cores for their highest end machines. So again, I think Apple's going to be sharing this M2 chip and these dedicated GPUs across the Mac Pro and the iMac Pro. In terms of release, nobody's really sure when we could see these iMacs. They could be out as early as March, or they could be as late as November at some sort of Mac event like we had this year. Again, personal prediction of mine, and I could be completely wrong about this because of course I'm not the world's most accurate Apple analyst by any means, but I do think it makes sense if Apple releases these iMacs at WWDC, since it'll be a developer-focused event, and of course they announced the initial Apple Silicon transition then, and these iMacs will be a huge enough deal for a spot at WWDC. Either that or some sort of Mac event, but definitely don't expect as soon as March because these are a huge deal, and so I would expect an event dedicated to them because Apple's obviously going to flex this huge redesign. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and yes, I am still looking forward to this. Of course, I've been waiting for a redesigned iMac for years, and if the price is right, I might be hopping on this. But tell me in the comments below, are you picking up one of these new iMacs? And on that note, I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, click that bell notification, and especially subscribe because we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2020, so it would be really appreciated. And of course, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya, peeps.